Thanks for joining us this morning. Today we're going to run through our OPC-Integrator. So this is a tool that we developed mid to end of last year to allow people to work with Excel and work with OPC much more easily. So it's similar to our P6 Loader tool. So in terms of framework that we've used, and that tool is being used all around the world. So as more and more folks are starting to look at OPC also as an option for doing their planning and scheduling and portfolio management, we thought having the ability to work in Excel and push and pull the data back and forth would be very valuable. So that's what this tool does. So I'm Nicole Jardin. I'm coming to you actually from Montreal today. Sunny Montreal this morning, which is great. It's been so rainy and cold, I didn't even think summer was coming. And Mary Lynn Backstrom is joining us today from Edmonton, and she'll do all the hard work and show you the OPC Integrator live and in action. So let me touch on a little bit deeper why we built the software. So there are common struggles with any software tool and any corporate rollout and usage. There's always, things that you would like to be able to do better. So some of the common struggles with building schedules, building portfolios are always related to data entry. Go Oilers, there you go. There you go, Mary Lynn. So data entry, right? Data entry when building a schedule can be quite significant. So as a scheduler, to build it all manually, it can be very time consuming. So you might have data in other software tools. You might have other folks who know the planning and scheduling, the tasks, the deliverables better. So you can start to divvy that up because just about anyone can use Excel and get you a list, tell you how long activities are planned to be, who's supposed to do them, that sort of thing. We've automated with clients nice forms in Excel that build data into the standard for loading, so there's nice things that you can do to make the gathering of the tasks much, much easier. Now, I mentioned a minute ago that you might also have some of the work in another system. So it could be an ERP system like an SAP or a Maximo for your asset management. Could be something like an Oracle Fusion where you've got all your accounting. Okay, so we've integrated to tons and tons of different tools because we've been doing this for 30 years. And so we've got a lot of good framework on how to do integration. So if you've got your data in other systems and you want to get it loaded in so you don't have to retype it, the OPC-Integrator has that strength inside of it. Now, of course, we could import and export. We have out-of-the-box importing and exporting in all of Oracle Primavera type tools, but often they're a bit limited. They're frustrating to work with. The way they format things, not that user-friendly. So we've tried to go above and beyond what they've got out of the box to make that sort of thing easier. So it's the first version that we've integrated. We're sort of on version 1.1, between version 1 and version 2. So we'll touch on the types of things that we've already got built, and I'll touch on some of the upcoming features that we'll keep adding to the software. So working within a project, with the OPC Integrator, you can create and edit work breakdown structures. Okay, so you can build them in Excel and load it up. The same goes for your task list or your activities. The same goes for your resources on the activities, so the resource assignments. So who's going to perform the work? How many hours are you expecting them to take? How much material are you expecting to use? That sort of thing. So the big ticket items, the stuff that takes a long time, we tackled in this version. So that goes with activity codes. So activity codes are a big way that you use, that you can use coding inside of the tool to, as I would say, tag and bag everything. So you can flip your different reports, do filters and all that good stuff. And that can be also time consuming to create the codes, especially if you're doing equipment lists and things like that on a big project. They can be very massive, and you usually have them out in another list that you can put into Excel, from your engineering folks, your work packaging folks, that sort of thing. So again, we've got that capability, and that goes for the custom fields, which are like user-defined fields in P6. Okay, so those are things we've got well underway, being used. And as we progress to later versions, we'll tackle the same for projects. We'll tackle the same for the scopes and the ability to add workspaces, and then deleting. I think we have some deleting capability already. And then again, we'll continue to move this tool sort of in the same direction as our P6 loader. Not exactly the same. It's going to be a slightly different, just the model of the data is different. The user base is different. So it won't be quite as extensive, but still very, very valuable. And we work with our clients all the time to add new features. When there's a pinch point or something that they need, we work with them to enhance the software and get that out. So our tools are always evolving. Every one of our tools gets an upgrade pretty much once or twice a year. So these will continue for OPC-Integrator as well. Okay, so the benefits really are going to be much faster development of schedules, much faster and better control over data. And then depending on where you go with it, you can do your updating. And Mary Lynn, I think, will show an example of a building, and she'll also show examples of updating. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and take a look. We'll run through how it works. And she can do a deep dive on showing you how the software works. So I'm going to switch over and hand it over to Mary Lynn. And she can run us through how you can use OPC-Integrator.
Okay, it looks like I've got it. So I'll just get my screen share going here.
Okay.
Oh, let's make this a little bigger so everybody can see as much as possible here. So when you're looking at OPC, Nicole mentioned we're going to look at getting the data in, doing the updates, if you need to make changes, those kind of things. Now, in the world that I've spent a few years in, prior to Emerald, and of course working at Emerald, a lot of projects, and when you're putting them together, of course, there's a lot of data to get in there. So you don't want to be going in and having to type everything in. At least I wouldn't want to. So the OPC-Integrator gives you options about how to use existing information, how to pull information from other places, that kind of thing. But from a very basic point, if I go in and I want to look at a file, so I'm just going to go into a project here that has information in it right now. So if I go into a project that has some activities, has some resources, has some other information in there, if I want to pull this information out to use it in another file, just straight with OPC, I can definitely do that. However, there is some stumbling blocks that personally I find frustrating. If I want to, for example, grab some of this project that I've got on the screen now and I want to take these activities out so that I could use them as the basis to create another file, for example, I can do that, but I'll show you what the process is. I go to Actions, and then I'm looking for Download Import Template. Now you can download an empty template, in which case you have to put all the information in. I can also download a template with data. However, that download with data is everything. So I can go in and ask it to create that. It's already telling me that it's ready to download, which is fine. So I can download the Excel file. And I can open it. Now, what you get when you download that template, and it does give you all the information, not suggesting that it doesn't. However, this big workbook is what you're going to get each and every time. Even if what you're looking for is only a section of your activities. Maybe you only want a piece of it. Maybe you only want the activities and you don't want the relationships or assignments. You don't control that. So what you can do when you do it this way is you can take their template, you can remove the information that you of course don't want to use for your new file, for example. But if you need to do it again, unless you keep that template, keep the Excel side of it, you're going to have to do it again. There's no way of saving that as a specific scenario that you can go back to. So that's one of the things it does not have. So if I was going to use this for another file, of course, I would have to go in and change, for example, the WBS, and if I needed to change activity IDs, that kind of information, before I can take it back in. But as I say, when you grab it from inside the software, you are looking at everything. So it pulls everything that's in there, which of course you get all the information, but then you're going to have to go through, if there is some of it you don't need to use, don't want to use, you are going to have to go back through and take those pieces out. Now, it has been improved some from when I started using OPC. It is a little more forgiving about what you remove, what you can remove. So that part is getting better, but they still don't have any kind of, this is my export for subcontractor X, for example. If you're pulling information, it doesn't have that kind of information in it. So what I'm going to do here is just close that down for a second. And what we want to do, let's have a look at what you can do with OPC. Now, this is a file that, as I said, is already set up. It's already got the resourcing. It's got some progress in it. So let's go to a file, and how can OPC help you if you're trying to build basically this file to begin with, or a very, very similar file? It can be very helpful because it gives you, you'll see right away, it gives you a lot more control over the data. Now, the other piece that you will usually need to deal with when you are dealing with your project files is, I'm setting them up. What activity codes do I need? And as Nicole mentioned, some of the activity codes can have sizable lists that need to go with them. Well, that is very tedious, very time consuming, and very frustrating if you need to put all of that in manually. So OPC is going to help us with that as well. Plus, she did mention as well configured fields. For those of you who are familiar with P6, those are basically UDFs. Now, again, when you get to codes and UDFs, you'll see when we go to those particular tabs in the software, they don't even have this download import template. So you don't have really even that choice there. So we'll see how OPC, the OPC-Integrator, is going to make that a lot easier for us. So what we're looking to get to as easy as possible and as correct as possible of course, is get our activities in, our resources, logic, and then when we start posting progress, have a look at what the progress on the activity side and what the progress on the resource side looks like. So that's, of course, same thing you always do in P6, just in OPC, handled a little differently, but you're looking for the same kind of information. So if I go and have a look at OPC, and it timed out on me, sorry, just bear with me 1 second. I will get back in here. Now, when you log into OPC, it's going to give you modules that you can choose from, and we'll have a look at some of your options in there. So when we go into the OPC-Integrator, the tool, you just log in with your credentials. It brings you to the OPC-Integrator with tasks, actions. Do I want to download to Excel, or do I want to take an Excel file and upload? So if I'm looking to download to Excel, you'll see I've got some modules available here. Now, any of the ones with the little arrows in front, I can just click and it's going to open it up. So you've got other information sitting underneath here. But when I mentioned that in the export template from OPC, you really don't have any control of what the original template looks like. In OPC-Integrator, you do. So for the modules that have the little pencil behind them, in other words, they can be edited. If I go into that, you'll see I've got customized columns, and I can save this customization. So I'm just going to go out of here for a second. So if I go in here, you'll see in the definition, I was checking to make sure everything is working this morning. My apologies. Definition says example. So if I go to save and load definitions, I can go in and say I want a blank definition. And I'm going to say yes, just so you can see what this looks like from the start. So if I go into activities and I want to pick the columns I want it to download, I don't want everything. I want a very simple grab of information that's not going to confuse the people I'm giving it to, that kind of scenario. So I want to edit. Now you'll notice what I'm getting is everything is on the right side. Well, of course, what you're looking to do is you want to pick out the information you're interested in, not necessarily everything. So if I was going down the list here and I wanted to, in the general piece, maybe I don't want any of it, I'm going to leave the general, but let's go down to planning. And I can take the planning pieces and I can send them back. I'll leave the updating piece, but I can take these other pieces as well. Whatever you don't want to grab, just grab it and send it back to the left side. Now I can also control UDFs and codes. Now you can see this file doesn't have a lot of UDFs or codes, but if there's certain ones in here that I don't want, I don't need in my list, I can again go out and take whatever I don't need out of here. Now, those may not be the extent of the ones that you require. You can go through every one of them, and then you do a save. And that's the part that gets put into the save and load. So if I save that, then if I go back in here the next time, you'll see I've got the same scenario that I had in there. Now, if I want to go and use a definition, so you can create a definition and save it. So if I go into use a definition, here's an example definition that I've built. If I say load it, and I go into to activities. Sorry, I didn't want to, I wanted the pencil. There we go. Now, this is what's built in this particular definition or profile. So if I want just these fields to be brought out into the spreadsheet, I can set them up. All the ones on the left side get left behind. They're not brought into my Excel spreadsheet. So that way I don't have to fight with that great big Excel spreadsheet when it is generated for me and take out things that I didn't need in the first place. So you create whatever scenario you need here, and along with the UDFs and the codes, depending, none have been taken out here. If I wanted to take out a number of these, I can definitely do it. It's very easy to do. Just highlight them, send them across, and I can say save and update that particular definition as well. So when you've got, if you're only bringing activities, that's fine. If you need to do the same thing to code type, you can run it exactly the same way. Pick the fields that you want, send the fields back to the left side that you don't want, and save it. And then when you generate the report, sorry, the Excel spreadsheet, it's going to only pick what you told it to pick out. So for example, if I check the activity one, and I'm just going to say, I'm not going to generate all of these right now, but if I wanted to grab that information from a file or files, this part is extremely easy to use as well, because what I can do is go to the project or projects that I want to grab the information from. So if I wanted to go down, and this is the one I need to open. Now, depending on what file I want to pull it from, I'll just grab one of them that I know has information in. So if I grab from the TAPS for 4th of September, and all I need to do to run that is I need to download. And it even tells you it's downloading one project. So you can grab more than one project at a time if that's what you need to do. That's going to work for you as well. It's going to go through and it's going to generate the information. If there is, you can see from what I've done in here before, if you go to pull or push information through the OPC-Integrator and there's any issue, it's going to tell you. And what this one was, I used an old load sheet and their API changed a little bit. There was a field I needed to add, so I did that. Now, if I want, this particular one is finished, so if I download that, and I'll just give you a quick look at what that particular one looks like. Oops. So this is the activities that I pulled from in there. So you can see it's not a huge file that I pulled, but you can see the file name and the activities, the information that it's pulled, and it hasn't pulled nearly as much as if you had pulled the whole thing. So it does definitely give you control over what you're seeing once you pull the information out, because you don't want to waste extra time if it's not necessary, which to me, if you can control the columns, that's a big thing, because you can pick exactly what you want, set it up as a profile. Maybe you're going to be loading updates from a specific contractor. You know what you need to load from them. You send them the template, they send it back to you, you have a look at it, you load it up if that's the way your process is going. That kind of thing is definitely something that you can do. Now, if I want to upload information, I'm going to go back to, whoops, sorry. I am going to, I need to pull this up, my apologies. I'm going to go back to the activities for a second. So we saw what a loaded file looks like with a little bit of progress in it. Now, if we're in the process of building a file, we can, of course, export our activities if we have them in another project, activities we want to use, as we looked at, we can do that. But what happens if we don't? We're going to get the information, we don't have it all at our fingertips right now. we have bits and pieces of the information. And for anybody who has had to go through that a few times, you'll know that, yeah, that's often what happens. Is it's very few projects where you get the whole set of information all at once. If you do, good on you, because that's going to make things easier for you, but it's not necessarily what happens. So if I wanted to go in and populate this particular file with activities from another file, all of them or some of them, how can I do that? Well, I've created some sheets here so that we didn't have to go through and pull them first, because that would be a little bit extra work here that we will be wasting too much time on, and we'd run out of time before we got through it. So what we want to do here, this is a sheet I've created to build these activities in this new file. Now, this is just an extract from another file, not exactly the one we were looking at, but another file. And all I've done is basically changed the project code, and even the activity codes are the same. So you can change activity codes as well. And I updated the WBS. So if I go in and I want to put all these activities in, now this isn't a lot, 52 lines basically. But if I want to go in and pull this in, I just go to upload and I go to choose files. And this particular one is the import of the activities, resources, all of that kind of information. And I'm just going to say open it and upload it. Now it's going to go and process the information, and then we'll go back to our OPC file and have a look at what that looks like in there. Now, even 52 lines, the way I look at it, that's a sheet that you have pulled the information from wherever you're keeping your source information, whether it's in OPC or whether it isn't. But also, that's a sheet that you have likely already proofed one or more times in some cases. So it's not something that you're usually looking to have to put it in your file and, okay, did we get the right activities? You've usually checked this sheet before you pull it into your file. So now I'm going in and I want to go back to the file. Now this looks like, oh, okay, we didn't do anything. Yeah, we actually did. You just have to hit F5 to refresh it. Otherwise, it's showing you the last thing that it pulled to the screen. So there is the activities that we pulled in here. Now, even for 52 lines, that was much faster than you could have done for clicking and adding, that kind of a scenario. So any of these activities, I can go to activity details, and you can see general status, resources, that kind of information. You can go across and look. And then if you have another set of information coming from, for example, another group, that kind of thing, just create a new sheet, load it again, and you're fine. It's going to just add it to your file. So you can keep building the information. If you need to change information, you can easily do that as well. Now, we did talk about also when you're building this information, we'll come back to the updates just shortly here, but if we've added our activities, now when we're building our file, you're going to need to tag some activity codes usually. Now, if the activity codes are all already in OPC, you can go ahead and do what you need to do to get the right activities assigned to them. But when you're building your information, what if the codes haven't been entered yet? Let's go have a look at activity codes, because this one when I first started using this, it did surprise me that they've approached this way. But this is something that, of course, just bear with me. I'm just going to go to home. It's going to be a straighter path to where we need to go. So if I go into summary and settings for this particular file, and I look at codes. Here is my activity codes. But you'll notice something in this screen, and this is what I was mentioning before. You'll notice add code. That's all you've got here. There is no export template. You can print them, you can add a code. That's basically it. So if you have a lot of them to add, I'm just going to delete the one I added because we don't want it sitting blank when we pull the others in. But if you go in and you need to add a number of codes. Now, the codes that we're going to add, it's not a huge list, but you'll see how easily it goes in. And if we find something we need to change, how easily we can actually go in and change it. If you're working from the tabs inside the software, you can see add code singly is what you get. That is what's there. So what I want to do here is let's go have a look at the codes. So I have a spreadsheet here that has a few codes. Now you can see they're color coded. So what I've got here is permits, and I've got cranes, and then I've got areas and units. So area 51 with the units, area 49 with the units, and 66 with the units. So first of all, let's pull this in. So I'm just going to minimize this so we can go to the OPC-Integrator and let's upload. And the file, of course, that I want to upload is my codes. So here's my codes load, and I'm going to upload it. Now, again, although there wasn't a tremendous amount of lines, you'll see how this, even for that number of codes, this is going to be a lot quicker to get the information in there. So it's telling us it's finished. So I'm going to go back here. And again, same thing we went through before. It looks like it hasn't done anything, but just hit F5, refresh it. And we've got the sections here. So if I open up the different sections, you're going to start to see this is what we put in. We had permits, we had cranes, and plant area. Now, under the plant area, we've got units. So we've got another level here. So you can definitely build hierarchies. And if you need another level under one or more of these, you could definitely do that as well. But there is something in here that when I look down the codes, my first reaction is, oops, I've messed something up here. So if I look at the area 51, yeah, it's in pretty good order. 49, pretty good order. But area 66 has a little bit of a problem here. It's area 66, unit 57, then 55, then 58, then 56. This is not good. So what we're going to do is let's go fix that. So before I load it, I just want to show you, I've got another sheet here. This is the sheet that I'll load. And it's basically the same type of sheet, but all I've done is, of course, put area 66 in the order it should be in and added a little bit more information under area 51. So if I look at area 51 here, you'll see this is what is under area 51, 1, 5, and 6A. So area 51 is going to get some more unit numbers underneath it. So this is the information that I'll pull in, and you'll see where all you have to do is correct it basically on your Excel spreadsheet, pull it back in, and it will fix it for you. So I'm just
so Mary Lynn, it's actually the sequence number, right? That has to be in the right order.
It is, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So
just to make this easy to read, I didn't just rejig the sequence numbers by themselves. I put the numbers in the same order as so that you could read it a little easier. Because we could have taken the other sheet and I could have just rejigged the sequence numbers, but it would really be hard to tell. Okay, is this going to put it in order or not?
Yeah, gotcha.
So yes, definitely, it is the sequence number. My apologies. I should have been clearer on that.
It's all
So
good.
if you pull this in, it's gonna fix it for you. So it's very easy to fix something like that.
Yeah,
So
so what
here's,
you're seeing is you can run it more than once, right? Now she chose to do a different sheet, but can do it all from the same sheet. Fix the sequence number, reload it. It'll do all the rearranging. If you had to do it manually, you'd be clicking, 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 and so it's just saves you all that time with that. The same thing holds true for any of the hierarchies and any of the coding structures in OPC.
okay, so I've loaded that one. So what I want to do now is I'm just going to hit F5, because at first, of course, it doesn't look like it's done anything, because unless you refresh, you're still seeing what you had before. So if we go to area 66 now it's in a lot better order. And if we go to area 51, we've got the extra code and values in there for you. So you can rearrange them, you can reorder them, you can change titles if you need to, that kind of scenario. So it makes it very easy to get a lot of information in the software, because if you're stuck, like I said, with just this add code, if you're anything like me, you'll get frustrated. Now, we did talk about as well about what in P6 would be UDFs, but they're configured fields. So if I want to see what the configured fields look like, I just fixed up a couple to load just to show you what it looks like. You could have huge sheets of them to load if that's what you need to do. So if we go in, and everybody's aware, I'm sure, that codes, configured fields, elements like that, when you're looking in OPC, they can be created at different levels. So what you need to do is set up your sheet to handle whichever field, at whichever level you're creating. So I'm going to the workspace, and you can see there is workspace elements in here already. Now, what I want to do is add 2 more configured fields to this workspace group. So I could, of course, go in, and again, I could say add, I could put all the information in, say add again. There's only 2 of them. I could probably do that fairly easily. But the sheet that I'm going to load could well have 2,000 if that's what you required. So let's have a look at the sheet that we'll use, and it's very, very simple. It's not, there's nothing complicated about setting up these sheets, because don't forget, when you pull this information out of OPC using the OPC-Integrator, these column formats are all there for you. So all you need to do is, I need to add some information, put the information that you need in there and load it up. So what I've got is, I have got 2 configured columns. The configured column 1 and 2, you'll see when we load these, they are slightly different though. So you could have had a whole sheet, you could have a huge Excel spreadsheet filled with them if that's what you need to add. So what I'm going to do is just minimize this. And what I want to do is go in and upload again. Same thing in here, very easy, just pull the sheet that you need and pull it across.
Marilyn, I might have missed it, but did you explain the different color coding in our Excel sheet?
I did for the, oops.
Okay. Okay,
For,
perfect.
yes, I did for the, just bear
Okay.
with me. It looks like I grabbed the wrong file. My apologies. Let me get the right one
Okay,
here.
perfect. I probably just missed it. Thanks.
Just a second. I just need to pull something from my other screen here. It looks like when I was putting the group together this morning, I grabbed the wrong one. I won't spend a lot of time with this. You have seen the codes. The UDFs work quite a bit the same, but
okay. So you just got an error there, right?
Yeah.
So you know something's wrong. So let's just go take a look at that. So we have all sorts of security and error handling inside the tool. Okay, so if the UDF already exists, or sorry, I'm using P6 terminology.
I do that too.
Then it will it won't change it, right? It's just one field. So these fields are pretty simple. So what's the error say?
I have to close this other piece to get back to it. It's not letting me there.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So if she has those red columns, those are the ones that have to be used and loaded, right? She got an error. I just can't read it. My screen's too small. I'm on my laptop. So that's trying to let you know why there was a problem. Usually the messages are helpful. Sometimes they're a little hard to understand, but if that's the case and you're not sure, you reach out to our support and they can help you through.
This one is the field type. There was an update in the API a while ago, and it looks like I've just grabbed one of my old sheets. And I did try it this morning. I must have put the wrong one in the folder. Okay. So I don't want to waste people's time looking at that. What I'd like to show you first is the updates to the actual file. I'll come back to this if we have time at the end, because I'll have to grab it out of another folder. So if we want to go and but you can pull these in as well with the sheets. Now, if I want to go back to my file, go back to the projects and go back to my test file. And I have to get to the activities, of course. They have things split up in OPC a little different than they do in P6. So what we want to do here is I've got my activities here. Now, how do I get my updates in here? So if I want to go and load in some updates, and the updates I've got here, it's not a huge number of updates. That's fine, because what we're doing is we are updating pieces of information here so that you can see the updates in OPC. Now, one of the things to be aware of with OPC as well, this particular file is built very simply. It's the activities, the resourcing, the statusing is going in at the activity level. Well, if you've been using OPC at all, you're aware of the fact that you can connect your scope, work packages, activities in different fashions and do the updates in slightly different ways depending on what they're connected to. So we are updating activity status. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to upload those files. Okay. And I'll just upload it, and then we'll go back to our So we've put our updates in here, and if we go back, initially this looks pretty much like, okay, nothing happened. But again, like I mentioned before, if you just hit F5 here to refresh it, now the reason you got some of these green highlights in here is because I created a status layout, and you can code in OPC, you can create layouts where when a specific field changes, it will highlight or draw your attention to the activity in whatever fashion you need it to. So that's what I've done here. So you can see you've got a number of in progress activities here. So if you have your updates in the Excel spreadsheet ready to load, you can see it's very easy to get the information in there as well. I had a handful of updates. I could have a 30,000 activity or larger file, and I could have been updating 1,500 activities. It would have still loaded them and given me the updates. Now, once you have your updates in there, of course, you can go in and you can look at, you've got activity details depending on what activities that you're looking at. If I go into shutdown, I can go into status. You can see it's brought the information across. Now, you also have the project information. Now, when you go to the project information, if you're looking at your resources, just be aware OPC tends to not show any of them by default. But here's your resourcing as well. So when you're doing updates and you're going in and you've got your activities and you've done the updates to the activities, which includes the resources, that kind of information, you can see in either the resource profile, or you can go in and look at the resource spreadsheet, depending. I usually start with the profile, but you can set up the display to look at whatever pieces you need after each update. So you can see it from the resourcing side there as well. That's not the only place that you can look at resourcing information, of course, but when you're in the activities tab, it's nice to know that you've got that option as well. So it's not going to make it too kind of too stressful to have to get the information out. So I hope that's kind of given you a little bit of an overview of some of the elements that you can take care of with the OPC integrator. Now, one thing I wanted to mention, when we download to Excel, you can pick it from information from any of these modules. I did emphasize the ones that you can edit, but you have other information that's available as well, your resourcing, your WBS, all of that information. You can grab that information if you're creating a new file, and it's all the same, pretty much the same information. For example, maybe you don't want code type, code value, just off the top of my head, you want to pull the rest of this in, take it all, pull it out of the file you want to pull it from, make the changes so you're sending it to the right file with the right WBS, pull it in, and it's a very easy way to use your information to your advantage so you don't have to recreate things.
Yeah, and I think Marilyn probably mentioned we can also work with more than one project at a time, right? We're not limited by project, so that's another advantage.
Okay, I will turn it back over to Nicole.
Okay, thanks, Marilyn. I didn't see any questions, so we will just go into wrapping up. So the key thing here is, if your team is building new projects, building out a new system, this can save you a lot of time in doing that. And then ongoing for updating, we have lots of clients who use these sorts of tools for updating. That way you can get your updates in more often, and that's hugely important to be able to forecast better where you're at, where you're going. So updating as often as you can is really the key objective that you're trying to achieve when you're working in this sort of system with planning and scheduling. Okay, so some of the things that we just looked through, of course, is we've got better control on the data that's coming out, better control on being able to work with codes, and codes really make your life much, much better in terms of being able to filter, group, sort, report out into any reporting systems. So these are important things to take advantage of when you're working in any scheduling system, and the Oracle tools have lots and lots of coding capability inside of them. Alrighty, so we want to thank you for spending the last hour with us. Hopefully you saw something that can help your team. If not, reach out. Maybe there's other tools that we've got in our toolkit. Now, OPC is newer in our toolkit, but we've got a very extensive toolkit for P6 Unifier as well. And as I mentioned earlier, it's because we've been doing this for 30 years, and we've always had programmers on our team because we started with integrations from the very, very get-go. Way back with Indus Passport at some of the nuclear stations in Canada were our earliest clients where we had integrations. So it's been a long time, and we've got lots of tools. And if you're new to OPC and you need training and assistance on that, just, again, reach out. Maybe there's something that we can do to help you. We do have training for OPC on our schedule every few months. So that's another option to look at if you've got that tool within your organization. Okay, so that's got my phone number. Let's use this one. We've got Mary Lynn's and my contact information if you want to reach out, if you have any additional questions or things you want to discuss with us. And if you prefer, you can also just fill in the poll question here. If you want to know more about this software or anything else, you can fill that in as well. Okay, so I'll